Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to No More Mondays, the podcast built on three simple beliefs. Humans don't matter, mediocrity is expensive, and ownership changes everything. And every conversation we have here on this show is designed to help you live and lead with more intention. And as always, I am your host, Angie Callen. Today's conversation is brought to you by Scary Good, Discovering Life Beyond the Sunday Scaries. It is my book about redesigning how we work and live to make it more intentional. And so if you are ready to rethink that, head on over to scarygoodread.com and grab your copy. Now, speaking of the Sunday Scaries, let's dig into No More Mondays. Today, I am joined by Aria Raphael, a transformational coach and mentor whose work really centers on authenticity, alignment, and self-actualization. And if you have read Scary Good, you know this is music to my ears. Aria's path into this work is a little unconventional as she combines years of leadership and coaching training with a focus on helping people connect with their inner wisdom and direction. And for those of you watching on the video, Taco is exiting stage left. He was a special guest to join us for the beginning of this show. And now who knows what he is off to murder. What drew me to Aria's work when I heard her speak and we met at the Thing this past fall is this idea that so many people are just moving aimlessly or even on autopilot through their careers and lives. We respond to expectations, we respond and react to pressure, and instead of just listening to ourselves. So today we are going to talk about how to lean into who you are and what it really means to become and maybe even like who you actually are. Aria, welcome to No More Mondays.
Thank you so much.
I love this. And so we got to kind of like catch up a little before we hit record. And when Aria gets up and says, I'm going to talk about authenticity, my little radar, like, ooh, this is somebody I need to meet. And I think this is a tricky word because I intensely love what this word means. However, it's become a little bit buzzy.
Yeah.
Right. It's gotten thrown around. We hear it in leadership conversations. We hear it in branding. Now that AI is on the scene, we hear it in content creation. But it is a really important thing to think about because there are plenty of people who are lost and not living authentic lives. And so I want to start with kind of creating this shared foundation and hearing from you, Aria, on, when you talk about authenticity or alignment, what does that really mean to you?
It's a great question. And when I first got to connect to a sense of authenticity in myself, it was about maybe 20 plus years ago or so. And I really could acknowledge in the moment that I was experiencing authenticity. And it came right after a moment when I had got up in front of a large group of people and had told the truth about something and had shared a truth about myself. And as I walked back to my seat, I just remember thinking so clearly, this is what authenticity feels like. So I really relate to authenticity as an experience first. And it's the sharing of something that gives us the experience of that and then gives others the experience of that as well. And that we're really looking for that. And it comes from right within our center. It comes really right from within us. And when I say our center, so that we can take the obscureness out of that, I mean like right within the middle of our torso, right? Like right in our body. And for me, authenticity is often what is my actual emotion that I might be feeling and speaking to that. I mean, it's not always that. We don't always need to overshare our emotions per se, or maybe we need to in a moment, but there is something that is of us. And the origination point is within us. And when we are sharing something that we are feeling or we are creating from ourselves, from within ourselves, from connection to something, like maybe some people would call it their soul, maybe some people would call it their spirit, maybe we don't use those words at all. Maybe we just say something within me wants to create this. And it's so how I personally define authenticity is that it is the expression outward of that something within for others or with others. So it requires more than one person.
Oh, I think that's actually a good point. Well, and maybe I'll add a layer to that.
Sure. Yes.
I think that the authenticity as a buzzword has been taken as this thing that you will go find or maybe even create about yourself. when really it's something that already exists.
Yes.
And we have to figure out how to express it out into the real world. And the best way to do that is while interacting with others, maybe at first on the back heels of a vulnerability that helps you bring out that very authentic reaction. And over time, as you find that expression in connection with others, you're able to also then express yourself to yourself in that very authentic way. And you really get that knowing.
100%. I love that it circles back to ourselves, whether it starts with we're sharing ourselves or something about ourselves or our self-expression or whatever it might be with others. It does help us to know ourselves better when we do that. We can feel it for ourselves. And I think that that's why it was so surprising for me in that moment when I was walking back to my seat. It's like I had to initiate it from sharing with others, and then I got to experience it. So, it's not so much about waiting for the authenticity first or to feel it first. It's in the actual delivery of a self-expression of some kind. And
Oh,
yeah, go. You.
you just struck me. I'm gonna shamelessly plug my own book, which I know
Yeah.
you've read. So
Yes.
and you may shamelessly plug it anyway. I have an entire chapter in Scary Good about confidence through action. And I think that what you just helped me realize is that authenticity also kind of happens the same way, right? This isn't something that it's just like, oh, I'm confident, or oh, this is authentic me, but it's out testing the waters and almost like proving your own concept that helps you realize, okay, I did that, so I can do more confidence, or I am this, or I did this and realized this about myself. Therefore, like this is who my authentic self. And so I think it's really interesting how many layers about like our true selves, that inner wisdom I mentioned in the intro, come from the act of doing versus what we can easily get caught up in is like the, let's say, inner reflection. At some point that's got to come out.
100%. First of all, I got goosebumps while you were talking about the chapter of your book about unconfidence. And I'm getting goosebumps all over again. I'm very moved right now. Just to all of you listeners, listen, I love this book so much. It was so great, Angie. It was really felt like a privilege to get to experience your perspective and all of your sharing. It really opened up a lot for me. And I actually I just want to say I tagged a little page
I
here.
didn't ask her to do this, by the
No,
way, you
she
all.
didn't.
This is not
Nobody
a paid endorsement.
absolutely 100% not. But the chapter, if you were to ask me what was the chapter that hit me the most, it was about what I probably needed the most, actually, was the chapter on confidence, because I'm kind of coming back out into the world after having been really quiet for a long time. And, I'm boosting myself back up. Right. So
Yeah.
the whole confidence thing was like, it just is speaking to me. And I highlighted a line that confidence rarely comes first, action does.
Yeah.
And that it's not perfection, not permission, not controlling every variable, not doing more, intentional action, one brave and perfect step at a time. And I'm like, heck yeah, girl, you were talking to me right now. Thank you. Anyway, back to authenticity, but I just wanted to say it was really great. Yeah.
Well, here's what's funny. That chapter, in a way, was just as much for me as it was everybody else. That is the chapter that I feel like came out of writing the book and wasn't just a chapter in the book, if that makes sense, right? So that was almost like by the time I got to that point, I was actually synthesizing my own story into conclusions that I hadn't drawn until you got to that point, which is a really fun thing about the whole like book writing journey, is sometimes you're writing for yourself just as much as someone else. And if I need to hear it for myself, that likely means others need to. And, I feel some of that comes down to, and this is a rabbit hole I want to be careful not to go too far down, but I think some of the reasons I'm curious, and I want to hear your thought on this as I kind of give you mine first, which is like, why do we lose the connection to ourselves, right? Like, why, as our careers progress, as life progresses, do we start to drift away from ourselves? And some of it, I think, and this is the little tidbit I wanted to add, is like the fear of actually just being that person. And I think in many aspects, fear keeps us from action. However, the antidote to fear is action. So there's some irony in there. But I'd be curious to hear from you if fear may be one of them, but like, what keeps us from ourselves?
Yeah, I think I have like two or three answers, at least a solid two answers to this. The first one ties back into authenticity, and it is that we have a fear of expressing ourselves authentically because we experience more rejection as we go in life, or as we get older, making friends is different. What's at stake is higher, if especially if we're running our own businesses, and we are the figure of that business in some way. There feels like there's more inherent risk to be authentic, even though what really resonates for each and every single human being is authenticity, because it it helps us mark for ourselves who we are.
Mhm.
And so we hear that and we feel that. And then we're like, oh, yeah, that's like, I feel that. That helps me identify something for myself. So authenticity is so incredibly valuable. But I think that it feels like the risk of really being seen increases. I mean, maybe I shouldn't even say increases. Maybe it was always there as children as well. But it certainly doesn't go away. And here's actually a really fun thing. So my friends and I very recently very, very recently in the last weeks, actually put on a talent show for one another. And I was so moved. I have not enough words to even express how extraordinary it was. As adults, we're like, let's do a little mini talent show. We did it with just like less than 10 of us. And we all brought a talent. And some of us tried the talent kind of even almost for the first time because it was such a safe space. And then some of us, obviously, we shared things we'd been more proficient at over time. But it was such a beautiful way as an adult to get to share authenticity. And we don't do that, right? When was the last time you ever did a talent show with your friends other than sitting around and playing music,
Well,
right?
I didn't do talent shows even when I was a kid before society tells you not to have confidence and not to be yourself.
Right.
However, I think that's an amazing, very visual example of almost like go back and have a childlike curiosity
Absolutely.
about yourself. There's studies out there that show that a girl's self-confidence peaks at age 9. And so, I feel like we can put some dots together and say that a lot of what disrupts our ability to remain connected with our authentic, genuine selves is conditioning, applied belief system, those expectations that we set, right? So we end up going about trying to please everyone else except for ourselves.
100%, it was exactly what the second thing was that I was going to say, basically, which is that over time, we absorb more of the shoulds, especially as
Yeah.
adults, right? Like when you finally left your parents' home, or you left like post-secondary education, or whatever it was that you did in those years, and you became, so to speak, an adult into the real world, immediately all the shoulds start. And we really, I think, absorb the values of our culture very,
Mhm.
very much wherever we grew up. And we are told what our lives, to a large degree, need to look like, whether it's by our families, of course, or it's by society. And
Mhm.
we are just everybody's, I don't know if I want to contextualize it quite like this, but like, we're all making it in life in some way, right? It's great if we're creating and, vibrantly in our potential, but we're all making it in life. And, you want to do it as well as you can. But when we have these things told about what we're supposed to do, or we're already given the limitations. So to actually, by society, that is, right? So to break free from that is an act of rebellion, which is why I love people that are just weird. It's like
Yeah.
I gravitate there because there's so much authenticity and this courage that it takes to be something unique in a world that wants us to all be alike so that it's easy, right?
Oh, that's
Mm,
a conforming, I think, is a
yes.
really good point to make there. And there's lots of ways that can look, right? Conforming to the belief system that's handed down to us. conforming to the way society thinks is normal when we're all actually unique. And if we just embraced that, that would be the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where this like this byline in my head of like shoulding all over ourselves. I should, I'm supposed to, I have to replaces I want to or I choose to.
Yes.
And that's a completely different system to have your brain wired around.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, let's bring some people into this because I know somebody out there is going, I think they're talking to me. So what's a sign somebody out there may be falling into should, suppose, have to instead of choose, want, I am? What are some signs that somebody out there might be a little misaligned with who they really are?
Does it feel connected to others or not? And why I say it that way is because I think when we're really connected to authenticity and truth like that within ourselves, there's inherently sort of this place of love that it's even like a self-love, right? But it's like it's not a love in particular toward anything or anyone necessarily at first, but there is a sense of a positive energy, like a love. And it's also quite, I think, well, yeah, that's sufficient. So then when we are experiencing connection with others, that brings often on a vibrance of some kind. It adds an energy to something. And when we are disconnected from authenticity, we're disconnected from ourselves, we don't often feel, and disconnected from ourselves. We're not feeling that connection. And when we are in service to something, when we're in service to others, when we're in service to our authenticity, when we're in service to our self-expression, there is a connection that starts to be felt. So if you're feeling a complete lack of connection, and maybe it's even with your partner or the person you live with, right? The rejuvenation is, where is the authenticity? Where is the spark of my own self-expression? And how can I maybe even share that with others? That was maybe a little bit of an obscure way to say it, but I think that gray energy of disconnect is really the key. If there's a sort of like gray energy of disconnect, that is a sign that you are losing that connection to yourself. And it can be found also in that connection with others authentically. So that would be a first sign, I would say. I'll think on it. Yeah.
Okay. I want to jump in and I'm going to share, I'm going to do the Angie thing where I give you 18 words in response to, 3 sentences. To me, what you just said, and I think this is so important, is there is a level of self-acceptance and self-love that you have to have in order to be authentic. And if you are not able to connect with others, it's a pretty good sign that you aren't connected with yourself. And the way I'll put that for very common terms out there, how many times have you heard from a romantic perspective, you won't find romantic love until you love yourself? This to me is the even higher, maybe more woo-woo, 30,000 foot view of that statement, that we can't have genuine connections with anyone, romantic, platonic, professional, personal, whatever it is, in the truest sense, if we're not connected to ourselves.
100%. And that, well, especially connected internally. And if you think about some of the most powerful conversations you've had in relationship, whatever that relationship is, it comes from this place of telling the truth from within ourselves, right? Yeah. And that automatically creates connection as well. Yeah. But for the other person with us. But I just want to actually also acknowledge the introverts of our world, because when we say connecting to others, that might feel overwhelming to some people if you are an introvert. And it doesn't have to be anything major. It can be just, finding the person who's the safest to you in the world and having a very gentle, very, very soft conversation about how you feel in the world or how you feel in life. And it doesn't have to be something super major. It's just about being seen and
allowing
being,
yourself to be seen.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that comes back into the self-acceptance that it's okay if I'm introverted, but it would be valuable for me to just reach out and connect even just a little bit here and there. But yes, and going back to what you said though, about self-acceptance, I I have sometimes landed on authenticity when I am not already self-accepting, and I'm very grateful for
Mm.
those moments with the people around me that are able to give me acceptance if I haven't given it to myself.
Oh,
But and I mean, when that happens, the love and the gratitude that comes out of me for people who have accepted me before I've accepted myself
yeah.
is huge. But really, if you want to truly live in authenticity, I think all of the work that it takes for true self acceptance is incredibly, incredibly important. And it gives us a freedom to be authentic when we have that self acceptance within. It's like a runway for it,
Yeah.
gives us space
So
for it.
let's like there's some people out there that are going, "Oh, Angie's going woo on this episode." It is, but not. Because in my opinion, it goes back to that idea of like, if you don't have self-acceptance and you don't have confidence and you have fear of taking a step forward, you're just going to stay stuck in all walks of life. And
Mhm.
while the pathway into greater levels of self-awareness and self-discovery is bound to have you cross some paths you'd wish you didn't know about, you're a more whole informed human who can lead better, who can be, a better parent, who can be a better, all of the things, right? This like weaves out. And so to bring this down to like a practical level,
Yeah.
we've talked about some of the, definitely that idea of like leveraging relationships and connecting with others as a pathway to actually doing this authenticity work. But I would love to give everybody else maybe some tools, some practical advice, some steps that you can take, some actions that you can take to build the confidence in who you are instead of waiting for the confidence in who you are to trigger action. So what are some of these small brave steps somebody can out there can do if they want to like reconnect and build awareness to themselves?
Well, I'm going to share one that I have brought back into my repertoire in the last weeks, actually, from like 20 years ago when I really first began all of my own transformational personal development work. And how I got there originally wasn't because I wasn't super afraid and I wasn't dealing with lots of different things in my life. It's I got. Do you remember for those of you who have not seen the movie Jerry Maguire, it's kind of old school at
So
this
good.
point, but like, so there's this line in it. It's like,
Like, no, it's not. It's a classic.
okay, it's a classic. I don't know. I just don't know how much we're dating
Just
ourselves.
date us, Aria. Just date us. But anyway,
Anyway, so in the movie, Jerry Maguire says, "Break down, break through." And I got really committed to that, not from the movie. I'd already been sort of playing around with it at the time, and I always got committed to the intentionality of a breakthrough. And I never had to know what that was going to look like. I just knew I'd feel it when it happened. And intentional living is so powerful. We can do so much just from the power of intention. And so the first thing
Mhm.
is to potentially just consider I'm going to set the intention to have a breakthrough. It doesn't have to show up tomorrow. It doesn't have to show up next week. It doesn't have to show up next month or even next year. But I am committed that in this lifetime, at some time, I will have a breakthrough. And what's really crazy about intentionality is it starts to change your brain patterns and it starts to change the way you filter things. And
Mhm.
you don't, you'll look back and realize every little day, or excuse me, every day a little bit, you will have woken up a little bit closer toward that without knowing it. And then suddenly you'll be in this breakthrough.
Yeah.
but you do have to be intentional. You do have to be committed to, I will have an intention. Will have a breakthrough in this in my life. That's the first thing.
And you should be willing to receive it.
And willing to receive it.
Yeah.
And willing to receive, whatever shows up to help you get there.
Yeah.
100%. So I'm bringing that one back into my life recently, and I'm grateful for it because the breakthrough is actually really fun when we get there. But lots of freedom. So just giving a little hope to everybody. There's so much freedom in the breakthrough. So just keep going. Yeah. Will you remind me what the question was again?
I don't remember what my question was either.
It was what are some steps?
I know what it is. It's practical things. Like, and it could be lots of small things. It could be journal something, like talking to people has been a big one. But, practically speaking, for somebody out there who feels like disconnected from themselves, and maybe we're giving them the awareness that they are, how do we reconnect?
Yes, great. The first thing is find something you used to love to do. Generally speaking, I think if we used to love to do it, we still have a love for it. If we don't, it might be because something happened that caused us to have a resistance to it because it's tied to a negative memory. But maybe if you want to make it easy on yourself, find something that feels like it has less charge emotionally to it. But find something you used to love to do and just do it. And maybe do it more than once. Yeah. And then see if that leads to, there's this other thing I used to really love to do. I'm going to try that. And it's okay if you, I just told you guys that we did a talent show as adults.
Okay,
right?
I really want to know what was your shtick?
Mine was, I actually went, I took the easy path on this one. I'll do something even more scary the next time around, but I did storytelling. I told a story about a time that I had to go pee in the middle of the night and there was a lion nearby. Anyway, I was visiting Africa. Okay. Back to our main point though.
Oh, we got more out of you than I thought we were going to. Also, may I please use this as an example? This does not mean you need to go to the art store and buy every crayon in the box. This does not mean you need to go do something outlandish. It literally could be as simple as, I used to like to tell stories when I was a kid. What happened if I went and told a story right now?
100%. 100%. Absolutely. And just that, I'm going to tell you, I really think the second piece, the intentional living into breakthrough, like that's good. It worked for me so well in life. But this one, just go do something you love doing, 100% is gold. It's so simple. It's so simple. And it will remind you of how you feel when you're being you. And that's the most important part, really.
Yeah.
Because it then, if you do practice it enough, you will be reminded of it more and more. It grows within you. And then you start to, may say, gravitate maybe toward more actions that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you recognize it, and then it starts to fill your days. And now you're starting to create the energy of your life being something that you love again, because you're connected to yourself. So you can do these things, by the way, by yourself. If you're, if you're someone who's scared of people for now, right, you can just do things by yourself and then maybe involve others, right?
So if judgment is keeping you from doing the things,
yes,
do them alone and don't judge yourself, which actually brings me to, I think, same second side of the same coin. The performance factor here, right?
Yes.
There's somebody out there that's like, oh, I used to love this thing, but I'm not good at it anymore. And they feel the pressure to perform, which keeps them from then doing the thing that energizes them and lets them be themselves. So what advice would you give to somebody who's in that stuck state?
So great. Well, it's kind of almost toward your advice, really. I'll give my own advice, but confidence comes in the action of just doing it. You do have to, you really have to trust that. It does chip away at the anxiety of performance and what have you. I would say go do something you're maybe a little bit better at first and build your confidence there, and then start
Mhm.
trying this other thing. The Here is something. Oh, this is good.
Yay.
So here's the fascinating thing. So I'm sure, Angie, because you've done what you do for a long time as well. When you've done something a long, long time, you master it. And when
Mhm.
you master it, you are no longer connected to what it was like to start learning that thing. And I learned this was other wise people had given me this little tidbit, which is that when you've mastered something, it's kind of like the mastery becomes you, but you don't think about it anymore. So then maybe something happens in life, right? And my life, there was lots of grief, there was lots of challenging big things happening. And, I lost connection to some of those things I had mastered. And then when you go back, it's actually, you have to almost weirdly relearn it
Yeah.
to, like you did in the beginning. It takes less time to relearn it, right? It takes less time to remaster, but because there's the mechanisms of your neural network patterns and what have you, it's kind of like a little bit of muscle memory. But the point is that we're always dealing with not we can always be dealing with not being great at something.
Thank you. If
And
if
yeah,
everybody out there ever never did anything they weren't great at, nobody would ever invent anything, start a business, change jobs,
no,
have a kid, or do most of the things that
yep,
actually lead to fulfillment. And that comes back to the like fear of failure, holding yourself to a level of performance that keeps you from doing things you love is literally keeping you from your full self.
absolutely. And there's like in what you said there, the idea of fake it till you make it is, whether it was something you were really good at before and now you think you should be good at it, but you're not again. And you're not, if you haven't practiced it in a long time because you even mastered it, you're not going to be necessarily really good at, well,
You
sometimes some
shouldn't
people,
expect yourself to be good
well,
at it.
I mean, some people are like always master singers. They open their mouths and I'm like, oh, I wish I could sing like that.
Yeah, no,
They're
I
like,
don't get
yeah,
that
yeah,
feeling.
some people, yeah. But
Mm-mm.
even those people who are master singers still have something else, that they have to work on performance wise. So I think it's a little bit of, gosh, it sounds so non-compassionate, but it's like we have to get over ourselves a
Oh,
little
yeah, no,
bit.
I've
Yeah.
actually said that to people on the phone, like, I think you
Yeah.
just need to get over yourself.
Yeah, we just need to get over ourselves and be okay and understand that there's joy. There is joy. There is joy in learning something. There is joy
Yes,
in
there is.
relearning something. Because if we have to relearn it, here's my wisdom bomb then on this one. If you have to relearn it, you're worried about performance, you get to have the joy of relearning it again
Yes.
and why you love it in the first place.
Yeah, and the joy of the satisfaction, and also the new perspective you will have, because whatever happened between knowing it and mastering it and having to relearn some level and remaster gave you new information and new
Yes.
perspective to bring to something. And that just means that you get to continue iterating and evolving. And to me, the bigger picture of this conversation to me is I think we oftentimes treat ourselves as a destination or a steady state.
Uh-huh.
And that's not what a human
No,
being is, right? We're curious. We're constantly supposed to be learning. And to some extent, I think that destination steady state is something that we apply to ourselves and we go, oh, okay, I've gotten there, and we park it. And therein lies the mediocrity that becomes expensive because now we haven't realized our full impact, realized our full satisfaction, realized self actualization, and it's keeping us from connection. So, for all of you out there thinking we're having a woo woo conversation, how's that for a practical way to lead and live better? Damn it.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. I think it's, just keep trying new things,
yeah. Yeah.
and develop the muscle um, of what seems like failure, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just you improving little by little. And I am really present to as well in your life. At least set an intention to find people who support you and lift you up through your learning period as well.
Yes.
And whether it's a coach and or somebody more professional, or it's just friends. And if you don't have those kinds of friends yet, say, okay, in my life, I am going to find these friends who lift me up and support me as I am learning and feeling not invincible because I don't feel really proficient yet. I feel vulnerable. Like, great, find the people who cheer you on regardless.
Yeah. In addition to being curious creatures, humans are also meant to have connection. We're not meant to do this whole life thing alone. And so if you find yourself, pulling back or contracting, that could be a sign that it's time to maybe do a little inner work in order to connect externally. And the big thing I want to say as we kind of wrap this up and bring this all into a nice tight little package that somebody can learn from out there is that, your authentic human self and this alignment that we talk about aren't something that you have to seek. They're right there. They're waiting inside. They've always been there. Society, belief systems, and conditioning pushes them down and hides them or tells us we're not allowed to have them. And if you set the intention and you lean into yourself and the people around you, it may just wake up.
Mm-hmm.
It may just be dormant. It's not gone.
No, if it is not alive, you have it. Guaranteed. Yes. Guaranteed you have it. And, if my last little piece of advice, if you are having performance anxiety, is just find the most simple action forward. Yes. Whatever that is. It's really, there's brilliance in simplicity. If you're trying to figure out what to say to people, find the simplest words. If you are trying to find an action, what is the action that maybe when you are quiet with yourself is sort of there within you to do, but we avoid it because we're resisting something. And it's often a very simple answer. It's a very simple
We complicate it.
We complicate it.
And I can, without a shadow of a doubt, tell you the answer is not to do nothing. So on that front, if you feel like you need a little bit of enablement in order to do something, Aria is a really good resource for you. So how does everybody out there find you and tune into this just amazing wisdom that you have inside and out?
Yes, thank you. Well, you can go to my website, which is my first and last name.com. So AriaRaphael, AriaRaphael.com. And also for businesses or people in business, LinkedIn is also a great place to go.
And you can always find her connected to me in all of the places. I promise you, she is a good follow. And as we close things out, I always love to leave everybody with like one last little pearl of wisdom. And I'm really curious to hear your answer to the following question is that, this world is getting faster. And I think it's getting harder to stay connected to ourselves because it's constantly changing. And so, as this world continues to evolve, as the future of work continues to evolve, what do you think we as humans can do to stay human while navigating all of the noise around us?
100% it's nature. Go be in nature.
I didn't pay her to say that either.
Oh, I don't even know what that has. Yeah. I don't know the tie-in.
Nature junkie, outdoor junkie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But even if you are somebody that grew up in a big city and you only like cities, go be in nature. And I'm not talking about, figure it out, figure out a ride, figure out some sort of ride share, figure out something to get yourself into real pure nature, not just a park, even though that'll suffice for a moment. And spend time there and lay down in the grass, put your head against the ground and lay there for a good solid time. Put your back up against a tree and let yourself decompress back into yourself. You'll just be so grateful to yourself for it. And I think in all of the world of crazy things and growth and expansion and speed and AI and all these things, it's valuable, really valuable. Yeah.
It is the perfect place to literally remove the noise.
Yeah.
And eliminate distractions.
Yeah.
How's that? For pretty incredible No More Mondays, Aria Raphael, huge thank you for joining us today and being authentic and vulnerable to help others lean into themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Angie. I'm a big fan. and
Thank you
grateful to be
all
here.
out. Thank you again. Yay. This has been a long time coming. So this made me super, I was excited and would love to have this be a 12-hour episode. But in the interest of our time and yours, I hope we left you with some food for thought. In another conversation about what it actually really does mean to live and work with intention. Think really hard about that word, intention, after this episode. Once again, Aria, thank you for joining us today. And all of you out there, thank you for tuning in. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with somebody who might need to hear it. Leave us a ranking, a rating, do all the things that help No More Mondays be as visible as possible. And if you haven't checked out Scary Good, Discovering Life Beyond the Sunday Scaries yet, even Aria thinks you should. So head over to Scary Good Read, grab a copy, and start rethinking your approach to work and life and the intention behind it. Until next time, remember, humans still matter, mediocrity is expensive, and ownership changes everything. Here's to fewer Sunday Scaries and more No More Mondays.